All right, let's jump right into our breakdown of the Hindu from April 25th, 2026. We're going to connect today's biggest headlines directly to the concepts you absolutely need to know for the UPSC exam. Let's get started. Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off with what's happening around the world, then dive deep into Indian politics. After that, we'll tackle the economy and some critical security issues, and of course, we'll decode a potential means question and leave you with some food for thought. First up, what's happening on the global stage? We've got three huge developments to cover: a very shaky ceasefire in the Middle East, a major trade deal for India, and India's growing role as a key diplomatic player. We're starting in the Middle East, where a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon just got a 3-week extension thanks to U.S. talks. But here's the catch: Hezbollah is already calling it meaningless. Now, for your exams, this is where you need to connect the dots. This entire situation is tied to United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701 and the role of UNIFIL, the UAE's peacekeeping force there. Understanding that background is absolutely crucial to making sense of today's headlines. Now, shifting over to the economy, things are heating up between India and the U.S. They're getting closer to a big bilateral trade agreement, or BTA. They're hashing out the really tough stuff: agriculture, IP rights, digital trade, the works. And it's so important you get the difference here. A BTA is a deep, specific deal between two countries. It's totally different from the WTO's most favored nation principle, which is a much more general rule that applies to all WTO members. And this next story is a fantastic example of India's growing influence. As the chair of BRICS, India just brought together countries from the Middle East and North Africa to talk about the crisis in West Asia. This really shows you the power of the new, expanded BRICS Plus. With heavyweights like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the UAE now in the mix, this group's geopolitical clout has just gone through the roof. All right, let's bring it back home and look at India's political scene, where we have some major dramas playing out that touch upon the constitution itself. This is a massive story in domestic politics. 7 out of 10 of AAP's Rajya Sabha MPs have walked out and plan to merge with the BJP. Now, this immediately puts the anti-defection law under the microscope. The key here is the 10th schedule of the Constitution. It has this specific clause that says if at least 2/3 of a party's legislators agree to a merger, they don't get disqualified, while 7 out of 10 is 70%, so they've cleared that 2/3 bar. Sticking with polity, the opposition is now making a move to remove the chief election commissioner, citing concerns about impartiality. So the big question is, how hard is it to actually remove a CEC? Well, the Constitution gives us the answer in Article 324(5). It says the CEC has the same level of job security as a Supreme Court judge. That means you need a special majority in both houses of Parliament. It's an incredibly high bar, and it's designed that way for a reason. Here's a perfect example of a court judgment directly shaping government policy. The Karnataka government is moving ahead with plans to create subcategories within the SC reservation quota. You see, this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's a direct result of that landmark 2024 Supreme Court decision in the state of Punjab versus Devinder Singh case. A big 7-judge bench gave states the green light to do exactly this, to make sure benefits get to the communities that need them most. Now, take a good look at this number. 92.88%. That is not just a statistic, it's an incredible story of just how many people turned out to vote in West Bengal's first election phase. And what's wild is that this massive turnout happened even after 91 lock names were taken off the voter rolls during something called a Special Intensive Revision, or SIR. This brings us right to a key part of your syllabus. The SIR is a tool the Election Commission uses under the Representation of the People Act of 1950 to clean up the voter lists and make sure they're accurate. And finally, in this section, let's talk about the digital space. The government is using its Sayog portal to push platforms like Meta to moderate content. So where does it get the power to do this? From Section 79 of the IT Act. Think of it like this. The law gives these platforms a safe harbor, a shield protecting them from what their users post. But, and this is the crucial part, that shield isn't unconditional. If they ignore a government takedown order, they lose that protection. All right, let's shift gears to the economy. We've got a classic good news, bad news story here. On one hand, a huge surge in foreign investment. On the other, a major regulatory smackdown from the RBI that's sending shockwaves through the fintech world. So the headline looks amazing, right? Net FDI is at a 45-month high. But as always, you've got to dig a little deeper. The data shows that greenfield FDI, actual new factories and projects, is down. A lot of this money is just being funneled through Singapore and Mauritius. Why? Well, it's often to take advantage of the double tax avoidance agreements, or DTAAs, that we have with those countries. Wow, okay, this is a huge move. The RBI has pulled the plug on Paytm Payments Bank's license, and the reason they gave was persistent non-compliance. That sends a crystal clear message to the entire fintech industry. You have to play by the rules. It's also a great time to refresh our memory on what payments banks actually are. They came from the Nachiket Moore Committee's recommendations designed to boost financial inclusion. They can take deposits up to 2 lakh rupees, but the key thing is they cannot give out loans. Okay, now we need to turn to a couple of really tough stories. One deals with the complexities of internal security in the Northeast, and the other is a tragic public safety disaster in Kerala. This is a really worrying development in Manipur. The ethnic conflict, which has been devastatingly focused between the Métis and Kuki communities, is now spreading. We're seeing clashes in the hill districts between Kuki and Tangkhul Naga groups. The key concept to grasp here is the Suspension of Operations, or SOO agreement. It's a ceasefire with about 25 Kuki groups, but, and this is critical, it's not a blanket peace deal. It doesn't cover all the communities involved. And this is just a heartbreaking story out of Kerala. A huge explosion at a fireworks unit killed more than a dozen people. It's a tragic reminder of the gap that often exists between having safety laws on the books and actually enforcing them on the ground. The main body responsible here is PSO, the Petroleum and Explosives Safety Organization. They're the ones in charge of licensing and regulating explosives all across India, including fireworks for festivals like this. Okay, so we've covered all this news, but how do you actually use it? How do you turn these headlines into a high-scoring answer in the mains exam? Let's break one down right now. Here you go, a classic GS2 question pulled straight from the AAP defection news. Now, notice the structure. It's asking you to do 2 things. First, critique the law for failing to stop defections, and second, discuss how it also suffocates genuine debate. That keyword, critically examine, means you have to look at both sides of the coin. So here's a simple, step-by-step way to nail this answer. Start with a quick intro on why we even have the 10th schedule. Then tackle the first part of the question. Argue how it's failed using that 2/3 merger loophole we just talked about. For the second part, explain how the party whip stops MPs from voting freely, and you absolutely must mention the Quixote hollow hand case. Finally, wrap it all up with a balanced conclusion, maybe suggesting a few reforms. All right, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought, a theme that really ties together so much of what we've talked about today. Just think about that for a second. Whether we're talking about the integrity of an election, the ethics of politicians switching parties, or a bank following regulations, this idea is the common thread. It's a powerful reminder that all our laws and institutions are really only as strong as the ethical foundation they're built on. It's definitely something to reflect on as you continue with your preparation.
If you're ready to really practice all 8 mains questions from today's news, and you want to get your hands on prelims MCQs and detailed notes, go ahead and download the complete PDF. Just scan the QR code on your screen or use the link in the description to join our Telegram channel. Keep up the amazing work, stay consistent, and I will see you in the next explainer.